We are live, everybody. It is draft day here on Orange and Blue Today. And welcome into today's program, Orange and Blue Today, presented by Champ Honda. I am your host, Cecil Lammey, and I am ready to go. Wearing the tux coat, the Batman shirt, just because this day means so much to me. And I understand a lot of Broncos fans will be like, there's no Broncos pick. Well, right now there's no Broncos pick. I'm still going to say that. It'll be pick 31, and the Chiefs will be taking Zay Flowers, and I'll be like, well, the Broncos could have done it. But, today is the day that futures are changed. Futures of franchises can be changed with the decisions that are made today. The players that are added, the players that aren't added. The way that teams maneuver via trade. I think there's going to be 3 trades within the top 10, although one of those trades has somewhat cooled. I'll get to that in just a little bit. But it is Happy Draft Day, and that is a big day. It is a big day for me personally. I know that this day has meant so much to me as a fan, as an analyst, as a member of the media, whether it's traveling to Radio City Music Hall or Philadelphia or Nashville or any of the places that I've been for the draft. It's a joy. It's an absolute pleasure to watch this process unfold because it is so invigorating, right? I think today is electric because you never know what's going to happen. And pretty much anything can happen in the NFL draft. It's kind of organized chaos, maybe not even that organized at times. It's perhaps the most boring thing to watch on television because it's basically players getting picked. But it, from a TV standpoint, outdraws the World Series, the NBA Finals regularly, and the NHL Stanley Cup Final. Sports fans love today. So Broncos country, I know you may not be up today. And I don't believe the Broncos will trade into the first round. I still believe there is a small chance, and I think that I have a larger chance than most people. Most people think nothing's going to happen. Most people think, I don't even have to watch tonight. Well, I urge you to choose otherwise. Now, maybe I'm the wrong person to ask because I am Mr. Draft, but this is a day of celebration. Sound like Dave Chappelle doing his Rick James. It's a celebration. Man alive, this NFL and this NFL draft, it is so great to be here because of what can happen today, because how franchises can happen, and because now today is general manager versus general manager. It is not Eagles against Broncos. It's Howie Roseman against George Paton. And, well, honestly, I'd take Howie Roseman in that. I love Howie. But George Paton, this is his most important draft. Could be his final draft. But this is his most important draft for the Denver Broncos because of what he needs to show Sean Payton. And that's why, and I get from a standpoint, we got Avs and Nuggets playoff action going on, and I guess the Rockies are playing, I have no idea. To me, this is incredibly important for the Denver Broncos. Just hiring Sean Payton is not enough. Just saying, he can kind of fix Russell Wilson, I guess. That's not enough. Just going to run the ball all the time, getting Ben Powers, getting Mike McGlinchey, that's not enough. You've got to crush it in this draft. And George Paton did not do that last year. I feel like at times I'm the only one to ever say that because for a large part, a contingent in the Broncos media are just fans with badges, and that bothers me. We can tell the truth about these guys. It's never personal. I think George Paton is a great man. He's a really good man. He also has an eye for talent. I also think he gets in his own way at times, and he listened to Russell Wilson about Montreal, Washington last year, which he never should have done. So when you say these things, you're painted as a hater. It's not being a hater. Don't be dumb. Remember, in life and in football, don't be dumb. George Paton, don't be dumb, okay? You made some dumb decisions last year. Not drafting Isaiah Pacheco, giving him to the Chiefs. That was a dumb decision. Sorry, doesn't mean George Paton's dumb. It means that decision not to draft the angriest running back in the draft who runs a 4.2, by the way. Can't draft him. Can't draft Tariq Woolen. You cannot make these mistakes again. And I understand people will be like, why you bring up Tariq Woolen, Isaiah Pacheco? Okay, fine. I've cut down on it a little bit, but again, we're either going to tell the truth or we're going to cover our eyes and be like, that's the greatest, let's go Broncos, and George Payton. Like, no, I need to see it from George Payton. Sean Payton, most importantly, forget me, Sean Payton needs to see it from George Payton. George Payton, can you do your job? Not to sound like Josh McDaniels, do your job. I don't want to scare Tyler because he goes into a shell every time he hears that cut because Josh McDaniels was yelling at him. But like, George Payton, can you do your job? Drafting Pat Surtain, who was a can't-miss pick in the top 10, like that's not doing your job. Can you do your job? Can you find the talent that is available, especially if you don't trade up into the first round? They might move up into the second. I believe they would move up into the 50s, somewhere in the third round. They're at 67 right now. I could see them moving up, in the late second, early third, something like that. So I could see them, doing a little bit of maneuvering, if you will. If you're George Payton, you must crush this draft. You've got 5 picks. And I'm not saying 5 starters. I'm not saying 5 Pro Bowlers. I'm not saying 5, just amazing. They got the greatest players of all time. I'm not saying that at all. I will be reasonable when it comes to grading George Payton. And yes, you can grade a draft. For all the people that say you can't, like you can. But this day is so important. It means everything to a franchise. The best teams build through the draft. You fill some holes via free agency, but you build the core, your foundation of your team. I don't know what to do with my hands. Your foundation is built right now, today, in the draft. This is when you get it done. And if you can't get it done, you will be gone. Sean Payton is here to change things. He's not going to accept mediocrity. This isn't Minnesota, and God bless Rick Spielman, who was George Payton's mentor, and God bless the Minnesota Vikings, but they haven't won anything, ever. So getting into the playoffs and making a run, like that's not the Broncos' way. Sean Payton is here to restore the Broncos' way, which is championship-level play, period. If you don't get there, you won't be here. If you can't get the players to get there, you won't be here. And that's why, again, I'm biased. I might be a little bitter. But this is the most important draft for George Payton. You don't have much to work with. You're not picking until 67. You've got to pick good players to save your job. Good luck, George. Like, this is hyper intense over the next 3 days. And it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I believe that George Payton can respond to the pressure. Again, just leaning on, 1, his reputation in the scouting community. I think it's sterling. 2, just leaning on how George Payton thinks about this game. And 3, my belief in that he does have an eye for talent. And God bless anyone who does anything ever in football. But I will say this, and I talked to my buddy Chad Ryder from NFL Network. Yes, it is a name drop. A Chad Ryder name drop. What's up, Chad? He's in LA doing production for NFL Network today. But we've always talked about how the same people can watch the same film and come away with vastly different opinions. The same people, 2 different people or whatever, two people can watch the same practice at the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Bowl or the Texas First Nation game when that thing existed. I think Latavius Murray might be the last pro from that game. Him or Ryan Griffin, the quarterback who was bouncing around the league. Anyway, getting off track. You can watch the same thing and have 2 wildly different opinions. There's people that think Will Levis can play. Like, Will Levis needs the right system. He needs the right fit. He's like Daniel Jones. I remember Daniel Jones at the Senior Bowl. I was like, okay, he's not what everyone is trying to hype him up to be. And he obviously got drafted with a premium pick because of his smarts, basically, and his measurables. He looks like an NFL quarterback, all that. But Daniel Jones did not play good football for Pat Shurmur. Well, who does play good football for Pat Shurmur? He always gets credit for the Chip Kelly stuff. But anyway, Daniel Jones didn't do anything until Brian Daboll put him in the right offense and put him in the right fit. So Will Levis, people can watch Will Levis and be like, he's Josh Allen. I think he's more Blake Bortles, honestly. And that's the great thing about this draft. Like, you have opinions. You can study. I always swear to you, the viewing audience and the listening audience, like, nobody's ever going to outwork me on the draft. Mace puts up a hell of a fight, I'll tell you that. And him and me have a great competition in terms of finding players, talking about players, discussing players. That's why I love doing Orange and Blue Today with Andrew Mason. I mean, very few people like Jeff Legwald can, Mace can, like me, Mace, Leggy, like we're all this kind of like football nerd, super football nerd who just love the game. I love talking about ball. I don't want to talk about Russell Wilson being fat. I don't want to talk about anything with, is whatever, so let's ride, Instagram, whatever. Like, I don't care. I really don't care. Hey, somebody posted something. Yeah, whatever. Let's talk ball. And that's the most important thing, is being able to find the players that can help you get back to the Broncos' way. And that's why this draft is the most important. Absolutely, for one George Paton. But this day is so special to me. And I'll never forget, I don't get to have draft parties anymore, but we had started having draft parties in probably the late 90s or early 2000s. So like Peyton Manning's getting drafted, and me and my buddies are getting together to have some cold pops and to watch the draft. Again, most boring thing on television, but I loved it. And I believe the last draft party I had before I started covering the draft was the Willis McGahee draft. Because my best friend Big E, and shout out to Big E, he's a Bills fan. So he really, really wanted Willis McGahee. Like, so, we, having those type of memories, then all the memories from all the trips. The wildest taxi ride I've ever been on is when I had to catch a train at whatever this was at Penn Station at Madison Square Garden. But I was at Radio City Music Hall, and I had like 15 minutes, and I made it because my taxi driver kind of drove on the sidewalk, basically. Like, all these sorts of memories. And that didn't even have anything to do with the draft, right? I remember hanging out with John Clayton or whatever, or God rest his soul, like all these great draft memories. And then the memories that are made in the draft, where these teams pick these players. Everyone goes back to the Tom Brady moment. He's all skinny, posted at the combine, that picture, and you've got pictures of his draft card floating around today. This is where history can be made. I mean, I'm getting chills just when I say that. I should take my jacket off. We're taking our clothes off here on Orange and Blue Today, presented by Sean Honda. Everyone's like, keep your clothes on. I just love this day. I love it. I love football. I love this game, and I love the draft because hope springs eternal, and this is when history's made. Like, you can say, I remember when player X was drafted. I remember when. I remember when Bryce Young walked onto stage, he bro-hugged Roger Goodell and all that kind of stuff. Like, I remember when I was in Philadelphia, and Garrett Bowles did the whole Simba thing, with his son. To the crowd, right? I remember, and I know Garrett's representatives quite well, good people, Rep 1, I believe, top of my head. So, like, I remember being able to talk to Garrett Bowles before anyone else in the Denver media. One, because I was there in Philadelphia, and Garrett was there. And I also remember, my phone's charging, but I remember being on my phone with Garrett, because I think we did like a Facebook Live thing or something. And Garrett Bowles' play, we can talk fairly about. I don't want to make his masseuse mad or whatever, but like we can talk fairly about the highs and lows of Garrett Bowles' game. But I always give Garrett credit because we're on the phone and I'm doing the selfie thing. We're on Facebook Live for the fan or whatever. And like all the comments, because you can see the comments on the screen because I'm just on my phone. And all the comments are like, what a bum, the Broncos messed up. Like, all this stuff. And Garrett could see the screen, obviously, because he's standing there talking to me. And he always just kept a good smile. I mean, it's a great day, right? Like, what? Some comments from some random user on Facebook's not going to mess up your day when you get drafted in the NFL. I remember stuff like that. I remember being on the air at Radio City Music Hall, and the Broncos had picked Monte Ball. And so I'm on, and I'm like, this is a terrible pick. What are the Broncos doing? The guy can't play. He's used up. Like, this is bad. And my producer, who's now the station manager of the fan, program director, is Raj. And he gets in my ear, and he's like, Monte's on hold, waiting to talk to you, because we got to talk to the draft picks. And so Monte just heard me blast on him for like 2 minutes. Like, the guy sucks. He can't play. He came on. He was great to me. And he always was in person as well. It's like Trevor Siemian. Like, Trevor knew I didn't like him. And I'm not personal. Again, Trevor's like a great guy. Loved the Skittles jacket, but like he just couldn't play. And he was always nice to me. So it's these sorts of memories these sorts of days, this is where your opinions, you gotta come through. You gotta do the work. I think there's too many times where people will try to ride the fence on draft coverage, or they just don't know. Like, I'm personally offended by most draft coverage out there, I'll be honest, because it's just guys that don't pay attention or they don't put in the work, and they're just like, oh, hot take. Like, hot takes are stupid. And again, don't be dumb. We don't need hot takes. All we need is sports. And I'll include the other sports. For me, all I need is football. Although I do love basketball. Longtime friends that have known me my whole life, know me as a basketball guy, which is weird for most people out there who think of me as a football guy, because I am a football guy and football is my job. But like, we don't need the hot takes. Those are dumb. All we need is ball. All we need is football. And today, with the way that the journey, right? I always talk about it with players, and I've made multiple players tear up at the combine, usually talking about the people that get them there. At the end of the day, this business, and almost all business, is the relationship business. Actually, everything in life is pretty much based on a relationship. How's your relationship with your boss? How's your relationship with your wife? How's your relationship with money? Like, it's all relationship. But in the relationship business, I think, and having raised a young athlete as well, and watching his teammate from high school, Dalton Keene, my son Liam, his teammate Dalton Keene was a third-round pick of the Patriots in 2020. And seeing Dalton in high school and working, and him and Liam were freshman quarterbacks together up at Chatfield Chargers represent. I'm going down memory lane today because today is such a fantastic day. And I'll get to the Broncos news and my mock and blah, blah, blah. But like, when you've seen what it takes to get there. I didn't play in the NFL, not even close. I played high school football, 6-man football. I played in a state championship, got our ass beat by a Rickery. That's my highlight of my football career. Making one of my teammates cry at halftime, maybe it's a low light of my football career. But anyway, like, when you've experienced that journey just from witnessing what it takes, the work that these players have to have. I usually will make players tear up when I talk about their mothers, right? Tell me about your mom who helped you get here. When you're talking about those practices, right? Anyone with a young athlete or any child that's in band or color guard or whatever, like, you're driving to practices, you're driving to events, you're driving to tournaments, you're driving all over, like, the time and the dedication that it takes to get here. Some players are just God-gifted, naturally talented. They're just going to make it in the NFL. Most players have to work their ass off to get there, and then they have to work their ass off to stay there. So when you've witnessed that work, when I see these young men every single year that I get to talk to, whether it's pro days, Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, whatever, the most fantastic thing is telling me, tell me about your journey. Tell me about getting here. What does it mean to you? What does football mean to you? Because as a lover of football, I mean, it means everything to me. And to see these young men who just want a shot, they just want a chance. They've worked their entire life. Maybe their family's depending on them. Maybe their neighborhood's depending on them. Maybe their high school's depending on them. Like, whatever it is, just to have that weight and those expectations to make it to the NFL. And then you're there. And I think all the guys that made it and then didn't make it, like, you made it to the league and then you're gone. It's called not for long for a reason. This is a brutal game. Again, I'll quote Dave Chappelle pretending to be Rick James. It's cold-blooded in the streets of the National Football League. The draft is full of hope, man. The draft is full of passion, intensity, everything in one moment. You feel elation. You feel incredible on the moment that you get drafted. I want to see those moments. I want to witness those moments. I want to see that next kid that comes out of nowhere. I want to see that surprise pick in the first round, probably Lucas Van Ness to Chicago. Oh, you must have seen my mock draft. Either way, like, I want to see that pick where everyone, this sucks, and then the guy turns into a superstar. And then the fans are like, this is the greatest ever. Like, I want to see that, man. It's part of the thing. As a story writer myself, I have an independent comic book company, but as a storyteller myself, like, there's no story you can write that matches the NFL. there's no story you can write that matches sports. You know, it's part of the, we can watch it and we can't really guess the ending, you know, because nobody would have guessed Terrell Davis, who his college coaches didn't like him and he barely played. He played fullback at Georgia. Nobody would have guessed he'd have been a Hall of Famer. You know, now you see him. I remember watching him in training camp up at Greeley. And going out there, having Fred yell at me for stepping on the line to practice. So like, you know, and you see that stuff. You see those young players. I remember Clinton Portis up in Greeley. You know, you see these young players and like nobody gives them a chance. Nobody thinks they can do it and they make it. There's nothing greater, no better revenge, if that's your mindset, than success. There's nothing better than that. So seeing that and seeing the journey, knowing a Steve Atwater, you know, who's like the greatest man of all time, the nicest man on the history of the planet is Steve Atwater, but seeing that journey and just what it means and meant to Steve to be in the Hall of Fame, to play, to be beloved by his teammates. And it's really that camaraderie. It's these type of things, these snapshots of life that we get to see in the NFL draft. And I am one I'm here for it. Absolutely here for it, because the draft is where it's at. So yeah, happy draft day, as I just spent 20 minutes talking about the draft. I'm sorry, I have a lot to say, and I will be saying it over the next couple of days. A programming note, and it's not about me, but I just want people to know, because Saturday I will not be on air. I have a death in the family this week, so I will be attending a funeral on Saturday, but I'll be certainly writing about this draft class and on Sunday, and I'll be on air, and you're going to get plenty of my opinions, okay? And I know that some people, and maybe a lot of people, and I appreciate you all, you know, enjoy my draft coverage, because this is it. Like, find what you love and do what you love, right? And for me personally, like, I love the draft. Regular season's fine. It's a grind, to be sure. But the draft season, that's fantastic. Again, because of the stories, because of the journeys, because of the crucible, because of the moment, the intersection of time. History will be made tonight. And I know it's sports history, and at the end of the day, sports are largely just a distraction. Don't want to get too off track, but we know, but it's a much needed distraction. We need this. Life's heavy, man. I just told you why I'm missing Saturday's draft coverage, like for incredibly you know, sad reasons. But what's most important are family. What's most important are friends. We need those distractions like sports. We need those distractions like football, because it's tough out there, man. And, you know, this game gives so much joy to people. I often think of my grandmother, who's the best Broncos fan I'll ever know, and she loved John Elway. It's one of the many reasons why I love John Elway. And I know people would accuse me, like, you give John a pass. Like, my grandmother loved John Elway so much, and we'd watch Broncos football. And again, I'm from the country, so like you don't get any days off, right? I don't have any memories of family vacation. One, we didn't have any money, but I do have memories of stopping what you're doing, going to watch Broncos football with the family, with everybody, grandpa, grandma, mom, dad, my sisters, like my cousins, like everyone working on the farm and the ranch. Like, you stop, go watch the Broncos, now get your ass back to work. So that was a very cherished memory to me, and just the excitement that my grandmother would get from watching John Elway. You know, that means so much to me. Those type of memories, those are what's special. We all have those sports memories, right? We all can remember, this one's for John. I'm getting chills just saying it. We can all remember the Tim Tebow play to Demaryius Thomas, right? Like, we have so many great sports memories that are needed. So yes, you know, because you meet people along the way. It's kind of like the party moment. Like, well, what do you do? Oh, I'm a talk show host. I talk about football. You know, I remember at one party, I won't get too specific because the guy, he's probably not watching. But anyway, some dude in like salmon colored pants was just like, oh, football's dumb and John Elway's dumb. And I was just like, all right, man. Yeah, you're the greatest person of all time. That's fine. But it's one of those things, like, I get it. I understand where sports stand and everything, but I also know how much it means, how much the draft means, how much football means here in the Mile High City, and what it means to Broncos fans everywhere. Cecil Lammey, chatty. Orange and Blue Today, presented by Sean Ponda. I just wanted to brain dump today. I got to tell you, I honestly can't wait. I'm like a race car in the red, you know, just like go, please. 6 o'clock, please, for the love of God, get here. Now, Andrew Mason will be here in studio with me tonight, Denver Sports Tonight, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. We also will be on watching the draft together, and we're thinking about doing a special edition of Orange Blue Today after the draft tonight. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Maybe breaking into your Facebook feed. Stop scrolling your ex's Facebook feed and watch Orange and Blue Today. We should cut that and make it a promo. But like, okay, yeah. So we've got plenty to do. Tomorrow, I will be on solo from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on the fan, on the radio. Also Orange and Blue Today, of course. Popping on other shows throughout the day. This is simply fantastic. Absolutely fantastic time. So happy draft day, everybody. Oh boy, I'm almost out of time. I still got to talk about my mock and 3 players to trade up for. Oh my God. If you're the Broncos, you're thinking about trading up for Luke Musgrave. I would trade up for Andre Carter, and Hendon Hooker is an interesting name to consider. I don't think the Broncos are just going to sit around. And in fact, I know their war room is going to be active tonight. Now, how active, you know, how many phone calls do they get? All these things. We don't really know because Sean Payton doesn't tell anything to anybody, like anybody. So it's not like the Elway days where we get so many leaks. We pretty much were sitting in the room with them. This is much different now, and I appreciate that. I admire that because then we don't have people saying, I'm an insider just because, you know, some PR guy's telling you everything the Broncos are going to do. Like, that doesn't make you an insider just because you happen to know somebody that works for the team. Like, no, the information is pretty tight at Dove Valley, and I, for one, appreciate that. I, for one, appreciate the draft. I appreciate all you for watching, and just let's go Broncos, man. Like, they're not going to sit on their hands tonight. I don't think they trade into the first. I do think they take phone calls. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe having multiple energy drinks in the day is not so good, but it's draft day, so I'm going to stay charged up, that's for sure. Jumping on the drive at 5 p.m. again, me and Andrew Mason, 6 to 7 on Denver Sports Tonight, taking you through the draft. Mason and I will be hanging out together. I'll obviously be on Twitter, at Cecil Lammey. I guess at me, bro. Go ahead and at me, bro. But join in on the conversation. I'll be tweeting about these picks tonight as they happen. Might also jump on the Audible later, but that's a different show. But anyway, so yeah, check that out. Check out my only mock, which is going to be wrong on pick 2. I already know this now. It's probably going to be Will Anderson, number 2. Watch my number 8 pick. Watch my number 18 pick. Those seem to be pretty solid, shall we say. As solid as it can be in a mock. Number 1's Bryce Young. And then 2's probably going to be Will Anderson, not Tyree Wilson. So here we go. And then Will Levis, do the Patriots trade Mac Jones and move up to get him? Does Arizona move back? Does Atlanta move back? Does Minnesota move up in this draft? Where does Anthony Richardson go? I know that people saw my mock and they're like, you got Jalen Carter falling to 20. Like, Seattle is going out of their way, and maybe I'm a contrarian. Maybe I'm a guy who's like, when you tell me, like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, I go, why are you telling me that? Why? Are you really going to do that? Seattle is going out of their way. Like, Jalen Carter at 5 is like the worst kept secret in the league if it actually is true. So I just had him fall to 20. Still, Seattle gets him. They just get him a little bit later, and not with the Broncos pick where I had Anthony Richardson go. Richardson with the highest upside of almost any player in this draft. In fact, any player in this draft. He could be a bona fide superstar. So here we go. It is draft time. It is draft day. Check out my mock draft. Make fun of it. Share it. Throw it. Tear it up. Print it out. Tear it up. Whatever. Like, yeah, that's fine. That's what mock drafts are for. I didn't do any trades. I believe there's going to be 3 trades within the top 10. And I've told you some of the spoilers. Also, Miami again, the Albert Okwuegbunam thing. We'll see if they can get their tight end. If they can't, then the phone will be ringing. If it's not already been ringing out at Dove Valley. So, yeah, Broncos fans, the Broncos don't have a pick. Why should I care? Well, you should care because the Raiders are going to get C.J. Stroud. Where's my buddy Jason, pot stoner degenerate up there in Greeley, like big old Raiders fan? Like, guess what, Jason? You're going to get arguably the best quarterback in this draft. The Raiders are going to get C.J. Stroud. Why should I care? The Broncos don't pick because you're worst division rival who you hate is going to get arguably the best quarterback in this draft. How you feel about that, huh? Chargers are going to get a top tight end. Chiefs probably going to get another weapon on offense. Zay Flowers, everybody. Like, yeah. And Seattle's probably going to take a quarterback of the future with the pick that was yours, because you had to have Russell Wilson, George Payton. Again, this is George Payton's crunch time, if you will. Crunch time. Jose in the chat room talk about Tennessee. Like, yeah, Tennessee. I think there was a report today I saw on Twitter. It's like, Tennessee may be interested in a quarterback. I'm like, wow. Somebody's late. Like, I can't remember who was tweeting about it, but I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, we already knew that. They want a quarterback. Yeah, okay. It's what happens when you have Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis, okay? It's here. It's here. Why do we have to stop? I don't know. Probably because I'm on the drive in a couple hours. In 1 hour. I'll be on the drive in 1 hour. So there you go. I'm Cecil Lammey, just talking your ear off. So thank you, everyone. Again, draft day is here. It means the world to me. You guys mean the world to me. And I appreciate you all for watching. Let's flipping go Broncos. And I so wish I could cuss, because I want to say, let's blank and go Broncos. Let's go, George Payton. Get off your ass. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Let's go Broncos. Let's get this team back, right? It's been down too long. Things have sucked for too long. It's time to stop. Stop. Time to get back on top. How does that happen? With a great draft. Can George Payton do it? Well, we're fixing to find out. I'm Cecil Lammey saying, be safe, be kind, know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned, and as always, please stay frosty.